Homemade puff paint is our project for this week. The best homemade puff paint recipe is on my website. Just click on that link and you will be able to find out how to make it. It doesn't take very many ingredients, just shaving cream, glue, flour, and food coloring, okay? And as you can see from the examples here, I did a little flower with the sun shining. You can write with it if you'd like. I wrote wow, and then I drew a stick figure with it. It's really cool because even when it's dry, it's still puffy. It'll still stand off the page. You have to let it dry for a while though. You have to let it dry overnight before you can try and touch it and see if it's still puffy for you. Okay, so this recipe is simple, super fun. I'm gonna tell you it's messy, so ask mom and dad first. Make sure you're on top of newspaper or something plastic to protect the surface that you're working on so that it doesn't get all over the place. It is all washable, so all the ingredients that make it are washable, so you don't have to worry about any of that, and any of the containers that you use to mix it in are also washable, so that's awesome. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so to make our puff paint picture, we're going to need puff paint. So start by looking at the recipe for puff paint that's on Mrs. N's website. I've tried several different ones, and that's the one that I like the best. It only takes 4 ingredients. You're going to need a 1/4 cup of flour, just regular old baking flour. Any kind of flour will work for you. You're going to need a 1/4 cup of glue. I use Elmer's glue. The regular white school glue works the best for me. And then you're going to need 3/4 cup of shaving cream. Barbasol shaving cream does work the best. Don't try to use gel shaving cream because it won't work. You want the kind that comes out of the can light and fluffy, okay, without being a gel first. Okay, so 3/4 cup of shaving cream, 1/4 cup of glue, 1/4 cup of flour. You're going to want to mix those first in a bowl. The reason you're going to want to do it first is you're probably going to want to divide it into separate bowls for separate colors. Our 4th ingredient that we're going to use is food coloring. Both a neon food coloring works or the regular classic color food coloring, and you're going to want to add it to the separate bowls. So I would split the recipe in as many bowls as you want colors of the puff paint. Okay, so for part 2, once you've mixed up your puffy paint and you have your 1 or 2 colors, usually one batch will make 2 colors really nicely for you. You're going to want to put the mixed puffy paint in a Ziploc bag like this, okay? Or put it in a plastic container with a lid like this. You're going to want a piece of paper. You're going to want a brush so that you can try some of this. And there are 3 different ways you can use your puff paint, okay? One way would be to leave it in the plastic bag like this, sealed very tightly on one end. Please remember this project is super messy, so be working on top of newspaper or an old paper bag or even a plastic trash bag, a couple of them, so that you can keep your work area neat. Okay, so we know we need the sandwich bags. We need to put the puffy paint with a spoon into the plastic bags and seal them up. Make sure run your hand back and forth a couple of times and hear the click so that you know it's super sealed. Another way is we talked about putting it in a plastic container with a lid, and you can, if you have an old paintbrush, you can use it with a paintbrush, and so that's fun. Or you can put it in a plastic squeeze bottle. I got these, I got actually 12 of them for $9 on Amazon, okay? And these work really nicely because if you put them in the Ziploc sandwich bags or in the squeeze bottles, and make sure they're tightly closed, it'll last from 7 to 10 days for you. If you are putting it in the plastic containers, it'll last about 3 days for you. And if you're leaving them in the Ziploc bag, you really kind of want to use them right away. okay? So in order to get it into the squeeze bottle, I recommend putting the color that you want in the squeeze bottle in a plastic bag first, cutting an end off, putting that end in the top of the squeeze bottle and squeezing the paint from the sandwich bag into the squeeze bottle. You're gonna have to stop every so often and tap it like this so it keeps going down into the squeeze bottle. And again, it's a messy process, so please be working on top of newspaper or an old tablecloth, something that it's okay to get messy with. Okay, so then when it comes time to painting, we did talk about there being 3 different ways, okay? So the first one, okay, so if you want to use the paint in the pots or the containers with a brush, you should get the brush wet first, okay? Then you're going to, in the lid, mix the water and the puff paint till it's about, kind of about this thick. And there's 2 different ways you can paint. One, probably the best way is to just dab like that so it makes a nice puffy line and go over it a couple of times. And once you get the hang of it, when it's a really nice mixture, you can just paint with it regularly, okay? So this has a little bit of water in it, and I can just start making my little lines using my puff paint, okay? This is a really good thing to do if you want to do a large area or a background that you're going to paint other things on the back on top of it, okay? But you can see if I dab in a little row like this, it does make really nice puffy lines, okay? So this is the first way we talked about using your puff paint. There are 2 other ways. Another way to do it is to use your plastic bag, okay? And you're just gonna cut very hardly at all. You're gonna cut off just a little corner, okay? And then you squeeze the puff paint down, and you can actually draw with that point. And this actually works really well, really nicely, okay? To do lots of different things. You can even write with it like that, okay? And then the third way we talked about was to put it in a squeeze bottle, okay? And just, again, this has a nice point on it. This one, like I said, I got from Amazon, and it makes the puff paint come out really nicely, okay? So these have a nice cap to put on them. Make sure they're closed tightly, and these will last about 7 to 10 days for you. These are from 3 to 5, but if you clip off the end like I showed you, you're going to want to put them in another Ziploc bag just to protect it until you're ready to use it again. And then the little pots of paint really only last about 3 days with the paintbrush, okay? And the sandwich bags with the little end cut off, or the squeeze bottles the most, because as you can see from the example, those tend to work the best. Please have fun with it and be creative.